Download the all-new KNBR app. Now, KNBR Tonight with FP Santangelo continues live from the KNBR Casino Matrix Studio. Casino Matrix progressive jackpots are here. Where are you? Just drop in. Please play responsibly. 1-800-GAMBLER.
There's this dude on TikTok that plays like Name That Tune in one or two notes, and it was 80s hits. And he said, can you name this 80s hit in one note? And it was the very first part of the song. We just did it during the commercial break. Raph and I both got it. It was an easy one. Play the very first note. Raph, are you that good? Can you play the very first note? No, you can't do that. He's saying, no, not that good. All right, a couple things I want to get into. I started the show with Trey Lance. We did it for like 2 hours, maybe 2 hours plus. And my take on that, if you're just joining us, and why would you listen to 4 hours? And if you do, God bless you and I love you, is that, you know, all this talk about what's going on and speculation about, you know, what happened yesterday. And I think the 49ers could have handled the situation way better to avoid all the speculation that was going on. My first thought was he took his ball and went home. He sped off in his Range Rover like Jimmy G did, and he was pissed that he was named the number 3 quarterback. And then Kyle was nice enough to kind of come on our air yesterday and say, no, we just had a talk, and he was kind of upset by it, and we just told him to take the day. John Lynch came on the morning show, kind of reiterated the same thing. We're going to play John's interview here in a little bit, probably around 9:30, if you want to hear it again. And then yesterday I came on, it just happened, and I was kind of all over the place. I want to know what you guys thought, and we had full phone lines all night talking about Trey Lance, and I came on with a real strong take today that it's this. If he did go in and say, hey, I don't want to be the number 3, trade me right effing now, get me to a place where I can compete for the number 1 spot and do my thing. And if it's not here and it's not under your system, like I get it, but just do me right. And there were some quotes from Kyle. I don't know if we have them, Raph, you could dig them up. I'm putting you on the spot right now. I should have told you during the break. Where Kyle said we want to do right by him. And I think John kind of said the same thing. If there's an opportunity where we can get him in the right spot. And I understand that sentiment, but here's my unempathetic take, if that's even a word. Your third string quarterback almost won you a Super Bowl last year. If you're Super Bowl ready, you need depth at every position. More good players are always better. I said this with Jimmy G, same exact take last year at training camp. You owe Trey Lance nothing as far as we want to do right by him. We want to put him in a good place. That's all sweet and kind and makes you look good. But the bottom line is if you're the Niners management or the coaching staff, you don't have to trade him. I don't think he's going to be a disgruntled, cancerous teammate in the clubhouse. I don't think he's going to divide the Niners. They're too strong. That team from afar, and I'm not with them, seems like they have chemistry. They all generally play for one another. They're selfless and they don't care who gets the credit. That's a wonderful thing, and you don't see it very often in professional sports. So under no circumstances are you under any obligation to do right by Trey. And I know this sounds harsh. And for whatever reason, circumstances, he hasn't developed, he doesn't fit the system, whatever it is, he's the third string quarterback. And reiterating, of all the fan bases in the NFL, this fan base knows what it is when it comes to a quarterback. We've seen Joe, we've seen Steve, we've seen great quarterbacks throughout the history of this franchise, and we know what it is. We saw it the second Brock Purdy ran on the field. I don't think we've ever seen it with Trey Lance. Does that sound harsh? Probably. Has he had the chance to show us it? Yeah. Maybe not as much as he'd like, but yeah. Brock showed it to us first game. We've never seen it with Trey Lance. So if I were him, and I'm not, fight for it, man. Don't take the path of least resistance and bail. Fight for it. Show your coaches every chance you get that you're getting better every day. There's a song by Tesla, Better Every Day. It's one of my favorite songs in the world. It's one of my motivational songs. Better every day. Get better every single day. Take it as a challenge. Wear it as a chip on your shoulder. When they used to tell me I'm too small, I'll show you wrong. When you tell me I'm the third string, I'll show you wrong. Give me a chance. Give me a chance to prove you wrong and fight for it. Is it a blow? Yes. You were the number one last year. You've had I almost swore. You've had a crappy road, a bumpy road. But sometimes bumpy roads lead to beautiful places. And if you stick with this and you show them they were wrong and you wear that as a chip on your shoulder, man, is it going to be satisfying when you're playing in meaningful games? Man, is that going to be satisfying? I don't know if it's going to be the Niners, but it could be. You think Brock Purdy at this time last year when I was doing a radio show, we didn't know crap about Brock Purdy. He ends up being, when Jimmy G got hurt, I'm like, that's it. Who's this dork that's running on the field? Number 13. And he almost leads us to a Super Bowl. It was a wonderful, wonderful ride for all of us fans, a wonderful ride for he and his teammates that ended crappy, but whatever. That one team goes home happy every year. So we had 808 KNBR full phone lines for 3 hours tonight on that. And it sounds insensitive, but this is big boy sports. It's all about the win. It's all about winning. A team that's ready to win a ring. A team that's ready to have a parade. It's check your feelings at the door. They don't owe Trey Lance a thing. You don't have to trade him because he wants to be traded if he did ask for a trade. This is all speculation on my part. 808 KNBR is the number. I'll get to the baseball stuff here in a second. Let's stick with Trey Lance. Alex in San Jose, you want to talk about Trey?
What's up, SP? How's it going, brother?
Good. How are you?
I'm great, thank you. Before I get on to Trey Lance, just really quickly, since you brought up 2010 with the Giants, for me, obviously, like that year was obviously special, right? And looking back to Posey and Bumgarner are probably viewed as the fire to the dynasty, but I feel like Timmy often gets overlooked, especially in that year, as being the spark to the dynasty.
Tim Lincecum?
Yeah, I just feel like people, like, granted, he's not around enough, so he doesn't show his face. I think people quickly forget, like, how special he was because he never gets brought up, you know. So.
He was amazing. He was a spark in more ways than one, if you know what I mean. But like he was amazing. He was amazing.
Allegedly.
But he was must see, man. Every fifth day was Lincecum Day. We used to say it on the radio all the time when I was here. Like
I remember, man.
All the walk-ups, the place was rocking. He was the main event, man. He was the attraction. The freak, man, the big-time Timmy Jim, whatever we used to call him, little kid throwing 98 miles an hour with a split from hell and a slider. And yeah, man, that was fun. That was a fun ride. I'm trying to think of a more exciting Giant in my lifetime than Tim Lincecum. Obviously, Barry was fun to watch, and Willie Mays, and we can go down all the names throughout Giants history. But like the most like exciting dude. Like as a pitcher, every fifth day was Lincecum Day, and we would all get fired up. Timmy's pitching tonight. Yeah, man, that brings back good memories. We could talk about Tim Lincecum all you want.
Oh, dude, I know I can. My wife hates it, but anyhow, about Trey, dude. When I look at his scenario, I think of careful what you wish for, because obviously he wanted to come to this team built to win now. The problem was he just didn't catch on to quick enough. He didn't grasp it. You know, the team's like, hey, man, we're here. Like, we just don't need you to screw things up. Like, let's go. That's how I see it, because he was raw. The play calling Kyle showed with Trey, whether people hate it or not, to me, it's telling. I'm a Lance supporter. I was pulling for Trey. But when Kyle kept running him up the middle, I'm like, dude, he's probably doing that because he doesn't trust him to throw. That's what I thought. I kept it simple in my mind, because when I look at Purdy against the Cowboys, there was probably like 6 or 7 plays in a row where Kyle just called pass, and I'm like, what the? Kyle would not call that for Jimmy. I thought, I'm like, you know why? Because he trusts Purdy, and rightfully so, up to this point.
Yeah, man. I think Kyle was trying to tailor his system for his quarterback, and in college he ran the football a lot. He's very effective. I think he ran it more than he threw it. So for people to say that it was his fault that he got hurt, man, my dad was a coach, and I think if you ask Kyle off the record, that really crushed him, that fans were blaming him for injuries when he's trying to win football games, and that's the bottom line. He's always trying to put his players in situations to succeed because that's conducive to winning. And when people say that, oh, you ran Trey Lance up the middle, like, okay, that's part of his game, or at least Kyle thought that was part of his game, and if Trey didn't want to run up the middle, he didn't have to. So, yeah, I get what you're saying, and this whole thing just been weird. You know, here's the thing in relationships, Alex. Like, they have to fit, right? And sometimes they just don't. Whether it's sports, whether it's life. And like it should be just dropping a piece of the puzzle and that last piece fits perfectly. And if it doesn't, you just don't sit there and try to jam it in because it doesn't fit. And right now you feel like last year and this year they're trying to jam that piece of the puzzle in there. And it just doesn't fit, and that's okay. It doesn't mean Trey Lance is a bad quarterback. I mean, I think if he gets reps and plays somewhere, he could be a damn good quarterback. But he just doesn't fit in this piece of the puzzle at this time. Does that make sense?
Yeah. And the last thing I want to say to the fan base, too, it could always be worse. Like most other franchises would have been crushed for this. Coaches would have been fired. GMs would have lost their jobs. Like, we're very fortunate that we blew the 3rd overall pick as of now at quarterback, and we're okay. We're still contending for a Super Bowl. Like, it's when you think about it like that, I'm just like, holy crap, thank God for Brock Purdy and CMC, you know?
No, Brock Purdy's saving everyone's ass right now. Literally, like, because I don't look at you traded all these first-round draft picks. You got your first-round draft pick, and Brock Purdy, you got lucky. Or you saw something nobody else saw, but I don't think that they thought he was going to be this good. Maybe once they saw him at camp and saw how he commanded a huddle and how cocky he was and how he was delivering the football on time everywhere and it was able to extend plays and keep his eyes downfield and be accurate on the run. And then all of a sudden the defense started going, who's this little punk? And he's making us look bad. And then all those things started to like happen. And you're like, whoa, maybe we got something here. So Alex, thanks for the call, dude. Thanks for listening. That was good stuff.
Thank you.
Let's go to Bruno and Chico. Bruno, you're on KNBR. What's up, Bruno?
Hey, AFP, how you doing tonight?
I'm doing great. How are you, Bruno?
Hey, pretty good. First of all, I just want to say, I was going to call earlier on, but I got a little busy with this Trey Lance stuff. I don't know. I feel like people are being pretty sensitive about it all. I'm with you on that. Like, at the end of the day, if he's not, doing what needs to be done, the 49ers are on the verge of getting a Super Bowl. They got to do what they want to do to get a win. And I don't blame them at all for if this is what has to happen. I don't want them to just get kicked to the curb, but it's what had to be done. And I don't think there's anything wrong with it. And also, I think a lot of people are getting real stuck onto this whole losing the draft picks thing, which sucks, of course, but like at the end of the day, it's been a few years from that. We just kind of move forward and, like I said, we're on the verge of getting the Super Bowl. So I think we got to just focus on that instead of dwelling on the past.
I agree, Bruno. Well said. I said this earlier in the show that we had a saying in baseball, if you don't like it, play better. And it was about if a guy was on the bench and he was bitching, you don't like it, play better. If a pitcher was a reliever and he wanted to be a starter, you don't like it, pitch better. And if you were in the minor leagues and we were taking 12-hour bus rides and you were moaning about that, you don't like it, play better, meaning get to the big leagues. You don't like a peanut butter and jelly sandwich after batting practice, play better. We'd say it half joking, but it was half serious. It was sending a message. And I think that's where you are with Trey Lance. And now that does sound insensitive because he's had injuries and he hasn't had maybe the opportunities he would have liked. But, I mean, he has had opportunities. It's not like he hasn't had any opportunities. So maybe he can play better and just like buckle up and let's go and prove everybody wrong.
Absolutely, I agree. And then also, I don't normally call about the Niners because I'm the biggest Giants fan, but I agree with that last guy. Like I said, I'm 25. That 10, 12, 14 era is super ingrained into my memory. And Lincecum, man, he is one of the most exciting people I've seen on the Giants in my life.
Dude, that's good stuff, man. I'm glad you're listening. You're the demographic we're leading. This show's young, man. We get so many young calls on this show. Thanks a lot, Bruno. I really, really appreciate you listening to the show. And good stuff, man. Great takes.
Thank you, man. You have a good night. Love listening always. Have a good one.
Thanks, dude. Yeah, I mean, our callers just floor me every night. Like, literally, I'll take calls for 5 hours. I don't care. This is so much fun. Let's go to Betty and Benicia. Betty's been waiting patiently. Betty, how are we doing tonight?
Oh, I'm doing great. Hey, by the way, you sing very well. I love the way you sing. You have a good voice.
Thanks, Betty. So I can go on to Hollywood? Am I going to Hollywood?
Yeah.
All right.
Here you are.
Yeah, Betty.
Yeah.
So sweet. I don't think Betty's ever said a bad word about anybody.
Okay, so I'm going to talk about Lance. Well, first of all, I just want to, on a positive note, the other day, Moody kicked it and got it, and we won.
Barely.
Remember?
Yeah, barely snuck in the right upright.
Yeah, but
if that was 10 yards back, that thing hits doink. It was a doinker.
But he got it.
He got
Come
it.
on.
He got it. He
All
got
right.
it.
But I'll talk about Lance. Listen, when he gets out there and plays, he can shine if he wants. That's up to him. So he has to let go if he wants to. If he wants to, show what he can do. There's his spot.
I agree, Betty. That's been the theme of the whole night. It's been tough love here on the KNBR Tonight Show. Like, if you don't like it, play better. Like, play better. Make it the hardest decision in the world. And you played so well and were so confident and so in command and made all the right reads and delivered everything on time, on the money, with authority. And you had swagger, cockiness, confidence, and your teammates had that from you. There's no way you'd be the number 3. There's just no way. I mean, you might even be flirting with the number 1. I know Brock Purdy, that's his job, and we all know that. But I'm just saying, like, if you're that good, like, this would have happened. And maybe he will be that good with repetitions and experience. But right now, that's just not the case in the eyes of the 49ers.
Right, and rightfully so. I mean, yeah.
All right, Betty. Thanks for waiting so long.
Okay.
You're a sweetheart. Thank you so much.
All right. Bye.
Bye. Let's go to George in Berkeley. George, you're on the Sports Leader. What's up, George?
FP, hey, I have to ask you first, how was Italy?
Italy was amazing. Had a great time with family and friends. It was a wonderful experience. Yeah, I have a theory, George. Nobody wants to hear about your golf game. Nobody wants to hear about your NCAA brackets, and nobody wants to hear about your vacations. Because
Bull, I want to hear about the gelato.
Everything was amazing, dude. Like, I ate my face off and actually lost weight because Positano is a vertical city, and there were 617 stairs from the beach to my hotel because the hotel is on the top of the peak. It was a bitchin' hotel too. There's no preservatives in their food there, so I just ate like crazy and drank wine like crazy, and I was good to go, dude. It was fun.
I bet the Cavs are looking great, man. Hey, so I have a theory that Brock Purdy saved John Lynch's job, because if there was no Brock Purdy, this issue of Trey Lance, if you have a quarterback who, by everyone's assessment, needs more repetitions, why would you draft him so early on, forcing him to play before he had those repetitions?
Yeah, man, that's a good point. I wonder if John thinks that too. There's sometimes when you talk to general managers, like, oh, this guy saved my ass big time, and they won't admit it publicly. But when you behind the scenes, a lot of it's luck, man. It's all educated guessing. The draft, free agency, like, you have your formulas, you have your data,
and then the injuries. We would have played Purdy against the Eagles had the injuries not happened. Yeah, it's amazing. Football is the most adjusted sport by injury, or the sport that's most adjusted by injury.
Yeah, I think we all know that. I mean, it's a violent sport, and you're going to get hurt. I mean, you are. You just hope you don't get hurt too bad. I mean, everybody that's ever played football has been hurt. I don't think there's one player in the history of the game that's just like, I've never been hurt. I'm fine.
Absolutely not. Whereas plenty of basketball players still look like they could play.
Yeah, there's probably been some golfers that have never been hurt, but even they have injuries, like with their backs and unruly fans.
There's the pitchers. I understand too. It's such an unnatural motion to throw, but yet you see somebody like Nolan Ryan. He's still cranking it out there. The get starts that he has doing the first pitch or whatever games.
Yeah, I think he threw on 75 on a first pitch or something like that.
At what, 65?
Yeah, or 75. I think he threw at his age or something. I don't know. I got to look how old Nolan Ryan is. I'm probably aging him, but yeah. But that was a different time, George. They just threw all day, and he was like a fiend, a workout fiend, and he had like his legs were a power plant, and he threw with his legs more than maybe any pitcher I've ever seen. Although Spencer Strider the other day in Atlanta with the Freddie Mercury mustache, he had frog legs. I mean, literally frog legs. Is he pitching the series? I haven't checked the probables for this series for the Giants, but if Strider's pitching, you guys got to check out his legs this weekend. Like, I've never seen anything like it. He's like 6 foot tall, and that's an exaggeration. He reminds me of Lincecum.
Put your legs on. You got to put your legs on, FP, after all those stairs in Italy.
Oh, he's pitching tomorrow. Strider versus Webb. Way to do your prep work, dumbass. Yeah, it's Strider versus Webb tomorrow. So that's a great pitching matchup, which means it'll be a quick game, which means I'll have a long show tomorrow. But anyways, hopefully the Giants win. George, good call, dude. You're the best. Thanks for calling.
You too, brother. Thanks.
All right, well, let's dive into the series a little bit. Let's talk about the Atlanta Braves, what I saw in Atlanta when I was there, what the Giants are up against this weekend, and what they need to do to get to the playoffs. We'll talk some Giants baseball next on the Sports Leader.
KNBR Tonight with FP Santangelo. Now continues. Follow us on Twitter at KNBR. This is KNBR 104.5 and 680, the sports leader.
Better every day. One of my favorite songs of all time. It's Tesla, Sacramento group. The change in the scene, if you know what I mean. Good things are coming my way. Let's start ending the show with this song. Why not? Let's all get better every day. If you could get 1% better every day, do you know what that looks like by the end of the year? There's a book called Atomic Habits. Check it out. It's a good book. It talks about reprogramming yourself and creating new habits and making that your new normal. We all have good habits. We have bad habits, and it's really hard to break the bad ones. But if you can get into good habits and make yourself 1% better every day, whatever that looks like to you, that at the end of the year, you're exponentially better than you were at the beginning of the year. So better every day. And that's kind of what I've been saying for Trey Lance is get better every day and show them they made a bad decision. Shove it up there you-know-where and show them they made a bad decision and have that chip on your shoulder. Like you were wrong, and I'm going to show you you were wrong. I mean, it'd be cool to get somewhere else for them or get to another team, but like, show them you're wrong. All right, I want to transition. This is our last segment here. We're going to 9:35, and then I'm going to replay the John Lynch interview because it was so good on the Murph and Mac morning show, and you can hear what John had to say about this whole Trey Lance thing. We've been talking about all night. But the big series at the ballpark this weekend, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, we have, Mike Murphy, Wall of Fame ceremony on Sunday. The team has a little get-together on Saturday, so I'm excited to see a bunch of old teammates and have a good time Saturday night after the game, after the Giants beat the Braves. But the pitching matchup tomorrow, Spencer Strider versus Logan Webb, might be the best pitching matchup in baseball. Strider is 14-4 on the year. Logan Webb is 9-9. Webby's ERA is 3.36. Strider's is 3.57. So you have two of the best right-handers in the National League going at it tomorrow. And let me just tell you about that Braves series. Like, you watch the Braves on TV and you see how good they are, and you talk about their record. They're 82-44. They're way ahead in the National League East. But that is one of the craziest lineups I've ever seen. When you talk about Ronald Acuna Jr. and you talk about Matt Olson and what this team has coming at you every single inning. And they have other guys like you don't even think of, like Michael Harris II was a tough out that whole series. Marcell Ozuna had a hitting streak. I haven't checked to see if his hitting streak is prolonged. It was 16 the last I checked. When Austin Riley. I mean, these guys, this lineup just keeps coming at you and coming at you. And I'll share a story with you. We're walking off the bus on Sunday, and I think Logan Webb pitched Saturday. And I thought he just battled his ass off and did a great job against that lineup. I said, good job last night, and gave him nucks. And he looked at me and said, that lineup. And that's all he said, 2 words, that lineup. And so tomorrow night, if you're going to go to the ballpark anytime this weekend, you're going to see Ronald Acuna Jr., a guy with all the stolen bases. Let me see how many he's got. I'm clicking on it right now. I'm getting to the page. He's got 58 stolen bases. He's got 28 home runs. He's hitting .335. He's driven in 74 runs. His OPS is .987. He's electric. And that ballpark was electric. And I'm not just sitting here going crazy on the Braves because I think they're good. It's one of the best teams I've ever seen in person. I've never seen a lineup like that where even Eddie Rosario he went 4 for 5 and hit the game-winning home run off Tyler Rogers. And you're thinking, well, Eddie Rosario's not going to beat the Giants. So you're going to see a team this weekend that's, A, tough task, but B, I think has a chance to go down as one of the best teams in a long, long, long time in Major League Baseball. So I don't know what you're doing this weekend, but it is going to be I don't know. You want to see entertainment, and it is the entertainment business. When you talk about what this team brings to the table and how good they are, Matt Olson's hitting .268 with 43 homers, 108 RBIs. The stat that I mentioned a million times during the broadcast I thought was the coolest stat is the Braves had lost 42 games, and Matt Olson had more home runs, 43, than the Braves had losses. It's like, what is going on with this team? Now, they play in a ballpark that's conducive to hitting. The ball flies in Atlanta in the summertime, especially at Truist Park. The infield is like playing on Broadway over here with the pavement. It's so firm, you can get a ground ball through. But this will be a fun one. And then the Reds come into town right after this. So you got some entertaining baseball on the corner of 3rd and King. Ellie De La Cruz for the Reds is one of the fastest guys you've ever seen in your life. So some exciting players coming to the ballpark. And this is not me trying to promote anything. I'm excited to see these teams come in this weekend and next week. It's going to be, I don't know, a pivotal homestand. You got a wild card race and a team that if you're going to play in October, you might have to face in the Atlanta Braves. Just a juggernaut right now, and the Dodgers are too. Let's go to Dan in Sunnyvale. Dan, you're on KNBR. What's going on, Dan?
Yeah, FPI, I get what you're saying. There's sometimes you go to a game because there's a big player on the other team and you want to watch him, and I know there's a lot of exciting and good teams coming, but this is the time of the year where we just need to get wins. It doesn't matter who it's against.
Right.
And we can't be worried about how good the other team is. We got to make the playoffs. We got to win every game we're playing.
Absolutely. Absolutely. You got to worry about you. But I mean, when you're talking about what you hope the Giants get to here in the near future, like the Braves, to me, how they locked up their young players to long-term contracts and how they're going to be a team for a long, long time. And there's continuity in that organization with their manager, their general manager. Like there's a lot of examples, I think, that they do it a really good way. And they won a World Championship in 2021. There's proof right there. I mean, this is, I think, the benchmark in the National League. Everybody talks about the Dodgers, but I think the way the Braves do it is the right way.
Absolutely, absolutely. What a great franchise. When you look at baseball, it's a lot about trends and things kind of sometimes move a little slowly. So if you look at the last winning streak the Giants were at, I remember the end of it. There were some holes in the game that started showing. We weren't scoring as much. We weren't getting as many hits. And we weren't coming up with the big hits when we needed. Now, we eked out the wins, and it was still part of that winning streak. So no one was calling in your show complaining about it until it then manifested itself into losing. And then we got into this big losing streak. And now, even though we've lost those last two series, I do think we've seen things turn around in the hitting department. We're getting more home runs. We're getting more hits with runners in scoring positions. And the pitching has always been kind of consistent. I think now, hopefully, what we could see is us coming out of this with a little bit being able to play at least above 500 baseball to really give us a shot the last few weeks of the season to make that push for the playoffs.
Yeah, I think it's going to have to be 10 games over, Dan, is my thing. If you can be 10 games over, I feel like you're going to play in October. That's kind of what I'm looking at as the measuring stick for this ball club. So what are they right now? Let me get back to it. They're 66 and 61. They're 5 over. So get to 10 games over 500, and I feel like they will play a wild card series. But when you look at the schedule, it's a tough schedule, man. From here on out, it's Atlanta, Cincinnati, San Diego. Cubs are playing well. Then you got Colorado. Then you got the Guardians. Then you got Colorado. Then you got the Diamondbacks, the Dodgers, the Padres, the Dodgers. Like there's really no let up other than 7 games with the Rockies. And when you go to Colorado, anything can happen at Coors Field. There's really no let up in their schedule, so they have to dig down deep and find a way, man.
And when you look at like where the Giants are even now, I can't hold anything against this team. You look at we're looking at the Phillies, and everyone there seems to have 80 RBIs and 40 home runs, and of players that half of them I didn't know until I looked at their stats. And I can't imagine that the plan of our leadership and was to have this much rotation, like a revolving door of players that we've had, and nothing against these players that have come in, but you've got to admit that you were just talking about Atlanta, where it's, hey, we have this nucleus of 5, 6, 7 players, and you're going to see them, and they're going to be with this team for a long time. But it boggles the mind of how the Giants are even in this situation when you look at the revolving door of players we've had come in and out. And I know a lot of it's been injuries and things like that, but no one thought Meckler was going to get a chance to come up here. And I don't even know if it's great for his career that he's been rushed up here this quick. And the person who we just released who played for the Phillies, who came in for a few games. And Camargo, right? It just seems like a revolving door. And credit to the coaching staff, credit to the players for being in the position they're in. And I'm excited. I think we can make a run. But at the same time, I think, I hope it is a learning for management for next year to say we need to have a better long-term view so that we're not depleting our farm system, rushing people when they're not ready, putting them how nervous were you when you saw Meckler? I thought his career was over when I saw him looking up in the lights and he lost that ball.
Oh my God!
If he would have not caught that, I think he would have had to quit baseball that day, and we would have ruined that kid's career.
I know.
I was like, that was the worst feeling in the world after everything happened in that game, and then for him to have that look. And it was great that they laughed over after it about it, but still, I love these kids. I love Meckler. I want them to be here, but I think they need to do more planning for next year.
Dan, what part of Canada are you from?
Oh, I talked to you before. I'm from Montreal. I was an Ottawa Lynx season ticket holder when I lived in Ottawa.
Oh, I can hear it. I can hear it.
Yeah. Oh, you probably heard me chanting your name and cheering you on when you were on the field back in Montreal.
When I was in Ottawa, the fans used to chant FP every night, and it was flattering. It was 12,000 every night in AAA, and I was a fan favorite there, and it was crazy. And then Pete McCannon came in 1995, and he was the new manager for the Lynx. And we had the replacement players in the strike, and all these 37, 38-year-old guys were guaranteed a contract in AAA for a month or so if they played in the replacement games. So all these guys that had never played in organized baseball in the United States, they were all from Venezuela, I think, and some from the Dominican, were playing. And every night I would sit on the bench. The first month of April, I didn't play at all. And every night you guys would chant my name. And Pete McCannon would get so pissed. He eventually became a big league manager and one of my best friends in baseball. But he didn't know who I was. He'd be like, why are they chanting this guy's name? Why are they chanting his name every night? He had no idea. So finally, they released all these replacement players and I started playing. In the year I got called up to the big leagues, started out as the most tumultuous year of my career, and I was ready to quit because I didn't cross the picket line. I didn't go play in the replacement games. I was the only one of all the minor leaguers in the Expos camp to walk out of camp. I said, I don't want to be a part. Me getting a hit off a truck driver or a plumber is not going to show Felipe Alou that I'm a big leaguer. So I walked out of camp, came back to California, watched my son be born, and then the Expos called me back and said, hey, we want you back in Ottawa. Do you want to come back? And I said, yeah, I'll come back. But I sat the whole month of April, didn't play, and I got called up in August of that year. So I can't thank anybody that went to an Ottawa Lynx game. You guys all amazing, the best fans in the world. I eventually got my number retired in AAA, which was a really cool honor. And I know there's no baseball team there anymore, but some of the fondest memories of my life were my 3 years playing for the Ottawa Lynx.
Yeah, you were totally a fan favorite. You know more than anyone. Montreal, we know our baseball, and my heart warms every time you mention on the show. I know you mentioned Felipe a lot. That to me, it means a lot to hear his name get mentioned, and it took him way too long to get a manager job in major leagues, and for him to break through. And when he did, we really saw what he can do. And I didn't follow him as much when he was with the Giants, but I know when he was with Montreal, he was what an unbelievable manager in person. And I'm just so glad that you do bring up Felipe stories up, and I think it's so important to keep that name around.
It's one of the biggest influences in my life, period. Not just in baseball, but in my life. Dan, if you're ever at a Giants game, hit me up on social media. We'll have a Labatt's together.
Okay, awesome. Thanks, FP.
All right, Dan, that's cool. Bringing back a lot of good memories. All right, speaking of good, there was a good interview earlier today with John Lynch on the Murph and Mac show. So on the other side of the break, 49ers John Lynch on with Murph and Mac talking about the Trey Lance situation next on the Sports Leader.